Hello everyone, Steve Ganz here, coming to you from Kauai, Hawaii on May 3rd, 2025 with the weekend update. So it was a pretty eventful week last week, not quite the way I would have expected. I actually had expected our markets to stall and even potentially start back down at this general resistance level in SPY. As we can see, that did not happen. We broke through that resistance level, came higher, and now we're into what may be a new resistance level. And I say maybe because this is a heavily news-driven market right now. And it seems like anything that happens in the news is what's fueling this direction. Now, we can see from a standpoint of volume, we had a big up volume day here on this day right here. Aside from that, the volume on those up days was pretty low. So that's a bit of an indicator that maybe this is running out of steam. The other thing I think it's important to look at, this line down here, this bottom line that goes along here, this is RSI, the relative strength. It is one of the few indicators that I tend to use. And this indicator, when we get up here into this 60 area or so on a reading, that tends to mark what we might consider to be temporary tops in the market. Each one of these, each time that we hit this overbought indicator, we seem to start to stall or roll over a little bit. Now, we're not quite to that 60 mark yet, but we're pretty darn close to it. And obviously, when you get up into the 70 range, it's even more of an indicator that we might have a temporary stall. That doesn't mean the market's going to crash on us. It just means that it might not be going up much further from there, or at least not at the same pace. And more often than not, might tend to have at least a temporary pullback. So I'm neutral on the market right now, just because I think we've used a lot of bullish steam here to get up to where we are. So that's looking at SPY. Of course, SPX is going to be exactly the same. All the readings are essentially the same, volume's the same, RSI is the same, etc. We take a look at volatility in SPY, and that volatility is making lower marks here, which is bullish. So now we look at the Qs, and again, very similar story in the Qs here. We have now poked through into a new potential area of resistance. We rose above this area that I was expecting we might stall at. Same thing with the Qs. Volume has been lighter with the exception of that one particular day. So that may indicate some stalling here. And then the volatility on the Qs is also pretty darn low there. And then similar with IWM. IWM hasn't rallied quite as much, but it has rallied up into this resistance area here as well. And again, as we look at this, look at the volatility, we can see that the volatility is coming back to a low there also. So all of these seem to indicate somewhat of a neutral to maybe even a bit of a bullish stance for our markets. Again, depending on news. Now, we're just have reached a level of rise in these markets to where I do think they're possibly in a little bit of a stalling area. I obviously was wrong last week, but I don't see us shooting up from here to that 6,000 mark, pending some news. And right now, I feel like virtually all the favorable news is baked into the markets. The tariffs have largely eased. Earnings came in a little better than expected across the board, but with some questionable outlooks going forward, but not enough to scare the markets. And then the jobs report on Friday was actually a decent jobs report. So all of the different pieces of the puzzle here have indicated this bullish stance. I'm not sure what more would happen to cause this to spike up further. And again, some chopping sideways, possibly a little bit of maybe a pullback. I wouldn't expect a big one, maybe into this 5,500 range, pending some sort of major news coming out. So that's my thoughts here on the weekend update for May 3rd at this time. Now, those of you that are part of the alert service, let's take a look at the current positions. Now, I did close out this particular position. Now, this position was another shorter term broken wing butterfly. Those have been working pretty well here recently. This trade was open 8 days, closed out for a little over $300 in profit and a 15% gain. So that was certainly a highlight or a plus on what positions were closed this week. Now, to the downside, this particular position here, our market was way down, and this thing has just rallied hard. Now, I did share some different concepts or ways that this position could be adjusted if somebody did not hold my neutral to bearish opinion. I showed how this trade could be calendarized or turned into a diagonal, and that would have essentially flattened this T0 line and taken some of the risk out of the trade, then just simply waiting for theta decay to happen. I chose personally not to make that adjustment because of the opinion I hold that we're likely to stall in this area or even maybe retreat a little bit. So I've been wrong on that so far, but I'm still holding that opinion at this stage. But if I am wrong, if we do continue higher from here, I am going to implement the adjustment that I shared out to my community. And that again is going to be to turn this into a diagonal. Lucid, I'm still watching this. This is a very long-term position in Lucid Motors. I am keeping an eye on that. They have some earnings coming up this coming week. We'll see what impact that has. And then this is a brand new broken wing butterfly. Like I said, these shorter term broken wing butterflies have been working pretty well recently. So this is another one I recently entered, and I entered it 14 days out. And I had to pay more for this one than I had to pay for previous ones because volatility is lower. That is part of what I cover in the deep dive butterfly class is, when you can get a better reward to risk ratio, when you can enter these trades more favorably. If you're interested in that, I'll put it up on the screen down below so you can check it out further. I actually have a 15-minute free video that explains quite a bit about butterflies. What are the pros and cons of them? What are the 7 key reasons that I like them and use them? So if you're interested more in butterfly trades, be sure to check that link out. So that's the current positions that I am in as part of the alert service. Again, link to the alert service down there as well. And I will be opening another probably 1 to 2 trades. I have stayed a little bit light right now in this somewhat crazy market. I normally carry anywhere from 3 to 5 positions. Obviously, I'm at the lower end of that at this time. That's it for now, everyone. Thanks so much. If you find this content of interest, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you, those of you in the community, we'll see you during the week with some new trades or adjustments. Otherwise, the rest of you, we'll see you next weekend. Take care, everyone.